Well, howdy, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is the PAS program open house, virtual open house here at Texas A&M University. We typically have face-to-face open house, but thanks to COVID, we're virtual for right now, but we do hope to start our face-to-face open houses back up again in the future. So hopefully the next one we have, we'll be able to do that. But we hope to present the material to you today to give you a better understanding of the changes that have taken place in our program and to get some of your questions answered. So let's go ahead and get started. My name is Tracy Glass. I'm the PAS program director here at A&M. And we have some of our staff with us. My co-hosts are Melanie McCurry, who is our program coordinator. We have Philip Olivieri, who is an instructional aide with our program. We also have some of our other staff with us. Ms. Letitia Tennell is with us today. She is our practicum coordinator. Ms. Shirley Leha, who is a PAS instructor. We have Amelia Stetz, who is an instructional aide, and also Andre Kudnick, I believe, is here. And so we have quite a few of our CDD folks who are also joining us today, who help out tremendously with our program. So I want to thank all of you for being here to help out with our open house today, and all of our guests today who have come and to get more information about our program and what we have to offer. So I'd like to go ahead and get started with, well, there we go. Y'all, my apologies, my computer is lagging today for some reason. You know, technology is wonderful until it's not. So this is our team. We have Dr. Daloon Zhang, who is our center director. Dr. Megan Orsag, who just joined us, is our associate center director. Of course, I just introduced myself, Ms. Letitia Tennell, who is our practicum coordinator, Shirley Leha, who is our PAS instructor, and then Melanie McCurry, our program coordinator. And we have various other staff here with us today that wouldn't fit on my slide. So some housekeeping rules for the open house today. Please remain muted throughout the presentation. Please enter any questions that you have in chat, and we'll be able to address those throughout the presentation or at the end. Both Melanie and Phil are helping me to co-host this event, and they will be monitoring chat. So they'll stop me every now and then, let me know when we have a question, and I want to make sure that I get it addressed for you. The presentation is being recorded, like I mentioned earlier, so that we could share it with other folks, and so that you'll have a copy of it if you need it for a future date. So the PAS program is a post-secondary training program for individuals with and without disabilities who are interested in training and a career in human services. And we have 3 tracks in which the students can choose from. We have the child care track, which is what we call our CCP track, our child care professional track. And that's for any student who wishes to work with the little bitty ones from birth to 5 years old and in a daycare setting. They could be expected to supervise or monitor the safety of the children in their care, organize toys, materials, change diapers of the infants and toddlers. We have revamped our CCP track curriculum this year, where the students will walk away with their CDA, their Child Development Associate, and they will get almost 500 hours of good hands-on experience during the 2-year period that they're with us. We started out as a 1-year program, and we have been blessed to be able to expand now to a 2-year program. So our students will get a good long time with us to get not only the curriculum, the material that they need for their track, but they will also get good hands-on experience practicing in the field what they learn in the classroom. Our second track is our direct support professional track. And we have two branches of our DSP track. One is what we call the general track. That was our original track when we first started. That is our track where if the students are interested in supporting the elderly in like a nursing home setting or assisted living, hospice, or at-home environment, then that would be the track that they would choose. They could expect to assist with mobility needs, accompany individuals in community activities, or support them in any type of recreational activities they wish to do. And that is one of our tracks that our students really like, and that was our original track before we expanded to add the paraprofessional and the child care track. And so our last DSP track is the paraprofessional track, and that's for students who are interested in working in a school environment, K through 12, in a public school setting or a private school setting, supporting students with disabilities in those settings. They could be expected to assist with instruction, help to collect data, help the teacher with escorting students to out classes, and various things of that nature. So it just really depends on the environment that the student wants to work in and the population they want to work with. It kind of drives which track they decide they want to study. So our program is not just an employment training program. We are also working with the students on not just workplace readiness, but also self-advocacy, self-determination, and independence. Our goal for our students is that when they graduate from this program, they will be able to go out and get competitive employment and work a job, get their own apartment, live on their own, do their own thing, call their own shots, just like anybody else. And so we work a lot on not only equipping them with the knowledge that they need in their particular track to be successful on the job, but we also work with them on various independent living skills, as well as learning to advocate for themselves and for their needs. So students will receive a well-rounded education. Students get a lot of training indirectly and directly. They learn a lot of skills just by being here. And so they that are, they're necessary for success, not only in the workplace, but also in the real world. They get the content knowledge of their track. They have the field-based experience, which we've really beefed up since we became a 2-year program. They get professionalism. They learn professionalism skills, proper dress, proper email etiquette, resume writing, cover letter writing. We really work with them intensely on these skills, particularly at the end of this program. We have a class called Next Steps, and that's where we prepare them for the next leg of their journey when they go to apply for jobs and go to work. So we also work with them on professionalism and and communication skills. And so one of the things I mentioned earlier was self-advocacy and self-determination. This is critical to their success, to be able to advocate for themselves and for their needs, not only while they're here in school with us, but also when they get out in the real world. It's critical on the job. These are skills that we use every day, that we take advantage of, and we take for granted, that just come natural to us because we've had that practice and we've had that opportunity. A lot of our students have not had that opportunity. Many times there has always been somebody there to swoop in and catch our students before they fall, and we let them fall. We let them feel the pain of procrastination, and we let them experience real life and the consequences that come with it. And so our students really grow and learn when we pretty much put the power to direct their own lives in their own hands. And then, many times this is the first time the students ever been able to call their own shots and make their own decisions and make choices for themselves. And so part of what we do is help them with learning to make good choices and smart choices. And sometimes, you know, they mess up and they, you know, suffer the consequences of it. I had a student one time, she was in the library and she was crying, and I said, honey, what's the matter? And she said, well, she said, I think I'm going to fail this module. And I said, well, what makes you think that? And she said, well, I don't think I'm going to get it done in time. I said, well, when is it due? Well, it's due in 30 minutes. And I looked down and she was only on page 3 of 43. And I was like, yeah, you're probably going to fail it. But that doesn't mean that you're going to fail the program. It just means you're probably going to fail this module. So what did you learn from this experience? And she's like, well, I need to get started earlier. Yes, ma'am, you do. So, you know, they learn a lot of good skills and a lot of good lessons by being allowed to make mistakes. And this is a good, safe place for them to make those mistakes. So we teach the students, you know, to learn about themselves. And it's really neat to see when students are successful in an area, they come to us, they're timid, they're nervous, they're very unsure of themselves, they're very insecure. They don't believe that they have the ability to be able to do this. And it's really a neat thing to see whenever they experience that first success. And they, you know, it really kind of boosts their motivation and their self-confidence. And then they realize, well, maybe I can do this. And then they just kind of grow from there. So we teach them about knowing themselves, knowing what their needs are, knowing how to advocate for themselves. They really don't know how to advocate for themselves if they don't know what they need and they don't know what their disability is. And so they need to learn about themselves, what their disability is, what type of accommodations to ask for. They need to know these things. So we help them along with that. Knowing how to get what they need, because like I tell our students, if you don't ask, you don't get. And so it's a struggle for them because there has always been someone there usually to ask for them. And now they're having to do it for themselves. This is a big switch for our students coming to college from high school. This is not high school, this is very different. And they are treated just like any other college student on this campus. They are no different. And once they learn that, it's neat to see the growth. We really see a lot of growth in our students. So we teach them to learn how to take control of their own life. And that's a big step for them. And sometimes they don't know what to do with that. This is sometimes the first opportunity they've had to have any type of freedom, complete total freedom at all. And some of them know what to do with it, and some of them do not. And so we have staff in place to help them with making decisions and with learning to make decisions. Because many times they'll just sit and they just won't make a decision because they're leaving it up to somebody else because that's the way it's always been. And that's not the way it is anymore once they get here. So we are all about person-centered planning, and we're person-centered focused on our students. It's what the students want. And that sometimes is new for them. We want them to control their own life because one day, and I say this typically in my open houses in person, and it's not a very popular thing, but it's something that needs to be said. Families don't really stop and think about their own mortality. And so we have to remind them, you know, what's going to happen to them when something happens to you. And you can tell that's the first time families have really thought about that. We're not always going to be around. And, you know, odds are, you know, children are going to outlive us, we hope. And they're going to need to learn how to live on their own successfully without somebody else's help. Because the person who helps them after you're gone may not call the kind of shots for them that they want or that you would want. So we want the students to be able to do that on their own and not be at somebody else's mercy. That's a very vulnerable position to be in. So our students are very important to us. Their independent skills are very important to us because we know we have a limited time to get them ready for the real world. So we start by putting them in control of their own life so that they can start getting used to what that looks like. Appropriate and independent decision making. Like I said, some students know They come to us with great skills already. We just have to fine tune them, and some students don't. And some students, just aren't ready when they get to us. We've had some that are like, "Ooh, I wasn't expecting all this. I don't think this is my cup of tea right now." That's fine. That's totally fine. We want the student to want to be here. This has to be the student's idea. This can't be mom's idea or dad's idea. This can't be counselor's idea. "Hey, I know about this great program and I think you'd be a great fit. Here, go." That's very unfair to the student, because that's not their decision. They have to be on board with this. They have to know what they're getting themselves into. Otherwise, it's going to be a long 2 years for them. And so we don't want that for them. We want what they want. So we do help them with taking control of their own destiny and learning how to make those appropriate and independent decisions. So we have an application process that's very extensive, and we pretty much by the end of it know whether or not the student really wants to be here, or if mom really wants them to be here, or aunt or uncle or whoever, counselor. We pretty much know whether or not this is the student's idea, and it has to be the student's idea. They have to be on board with this in order for them to be successful. Those who are very excited to be here, they usually have a clear idea of the direction they want to go in. They know exactly what the program offers and how it can help them, and they are very excited. I've had some students sit in front of me in an interview, and as soon as the family leaves, they're like, "Whew, I really don't want to be here. This is not my idea." And I appreciate them being honest with us, and I applaud them for speaking up and advocating for themselves, because we have a little chat about, well, what do you want to do, and come up with some ideas that might be a better fit for them, but it's got to be the student's idea and what the student wants. Get this thing to change. There we go. Independence is huge. And all of these pictures that you see on these slides are pictures of our students doing their thing out in the community by themselves. This particular picture is of our students riding a bus. We train them on the bus system. In the summer, our program starts out with a 4-week summer program called Summer 1. It used to be called Bridge to Career. It's no longer Bridge to Career. Since we changed to a 2-year program, we have Summer 1, Fall 1, Spring 1, Summer 2, Fall 2, Spring 2, and then they graduate. And so Summer 1 is still a pass-fail. They still have to pass Summer 1, and that is our time to gauge them, really watch them closely and work with them to see if they're ready for the program. Some students are and some students are not. And so we keep a real close eye on them in the summer, and we work with them to help them get to where they need to be so that they can be successful in the fall when the PAS program starts. So one of the things we really work hard on in the summer is independent living skills. So for Summer 1, our students will live on campus. We house them, we feed them. They typically live in Hullabaloo Hall, which is one of the nicest dorms on campus. And they have a roommate, and they learn to get along, and they learn to keep their room clean, and they learn time management skills to get themselves up, to get to class on time or to get to lunch on time. And so we work with them a lot on the bus system, training them on the Aggie Spirit bus system so that they can get around campus and learn how to navigate campus. We also train them on the Brazos Transit District, our community bus district bus system that we have in town, so that if they want to go somewhere off campus, they'll know where they're going and how that works and what that looks like. So we teach them those important navigation skills. That's one of the things that our students really struggle with the most. And to be honest, that's one of the things that I struggled with the most when I first set foot on campus, because this is a very big place. And so but they're very successful because we have a great program in place and a great method for teaching them how to use these bus systems. And both bus systems are free to them to use while they're here with us. Independent management practice for class and work obligations. they're, like I said, they're just like any other college student on campus. They're expected to come to class on time and to manage their time well while they're with us. Their independent living skills start with training in the summer, and then when the fall hits, if they pass the summer piece to move on to the fall, then they're required to live in an off-campus dorm, wherever they choose to live. A lot of them make friends with each other over the summer. They find out where each other's living, and they usually all go migrate to that one place. And so, but we have some that have went out and got their own apartments or got their own townhome because they had enough independent living skills that they could live on their own and be successful. And they wanted their own space. They didn't want to live in an off-campus dorm, and that's fine too, if that's what they want to do. So we teach them, also to respect and support others' independent journeys. It's very difficult on them sometimes when they come and they're, in a dorm with other people, they're rooming with somebody, they're, having to learn how to get used to other people's quirks, nuances, and little idiosyncrasies that, may drive them crazy. We have some that, roommates that get along great. And, oh, I'm so glad that you paired me up with so-and-so because they're just the best roommate. And then by the end of the 4-week summer, they're pretty much on each other's nerves and trying to figure out how they're going to work through their issues. And that's part of what we teach them in the summer is how to get along, how to respect each other, and how to work out your differences. No, we're not going to move you to a different dorm because all of a sudden you're not getting along with your roommate. You're going to stick in there and you're going to learn how to figure it out. And it's because when they get on the job, they're not going to be able to pick their coworkers. And if they have a coworker that they don't get along with, it's going to happen. They're not going to be able to just go and get that person fired because they don't get along with them anymore. So we're training them. Everything that we do in the program is to train them for the real world. So we're pretty tough on them. But being able to stick in there and work through it is part of growing up and learning to mature and deal with people. And going into, since all of our tracks are in human services, they're going to have to learn how to get along with people. So we train them early. We have a lot of support built into our program. We have assigned advisors that each student is assigned an advisor that they are required to meet with at least twice a week. And that advisor is there to help support them with anything that they might need regarding the program. So they can help with study plan development. They meet twice a week. They open up their computer, show me your grades, show me your assignments. Let's see what assignments you're missing. Let's see what's coming due. Let's help you, make a study plan. And then they help follow up with the student to make sure that they're sticking to their study plan. They help them with time management skills, how to program due dates and times for their obligations into their phone, or if they use a paper planner, they help them with making sure that they're keeping up with their planner. They help them with independent living skills. Some of our students, they come to us, they need help with hygiene. And we'll know pretty quick within the first day or two if this is the case. And so they may need a checklist for the morning. Okay, what are we going to do first? We're going to set our alarm's going to go off at 6. Okay, we're going to get up and then we're going to get a shower, wash our hair, brush our teeth. And so they're there to help with those types of checklists, maybe an evening checklist. It could be a checklist to help them make sure that they have all their assignments completed for a particular class. So they help them a lot with that. If they need help learning how to do laundry, they're there to support them with that, how to use the washers and the dryers, and how often should we do laundry, and how much detergent should we use. And they could even, support with things like cooking skills. If they wanted to, the student really wants to figure out how to make something, they could get together and learn how to make a recipe. So they're there for a variety of things. And social skills development, that's huge. Many of our students come to us and they're very inflexible about the way they live their life and the way other people ought to live their life as well. And so they learn how to accept other people's differences, and they learn how to get along with others. So the social skills development is huge, and that's something that we typically find ourselves working on with the student throughout their whole entire time here. And we see a lot of improvement most of the time with regard to that. We also have instructional aides that sit in the classes with the students, and they know exactly what the students are expected to do in their classes and exactly how to help them. So the instructional aides are there in the class to help the student if they have any questions. We also have office hours, dedicated office hours that the students can attend, and if they need extra assistance. And if we also have a class called Independent Study, which is a dedicated time for the students to sit in class with the instructional aides and work on homework while they have somebody there to assist them. And that class is designed to teach them, to dedicate a certain amount of time to work on their work. And it's very effective. They get quite a bit done in those classes, and they can work on anything that they want to, but they need to be working on something. And so the instructional aides also make themselves available for one-on-one office hours if the office hours that's on their schedule already is not enough. We want to make sure our students are successful. If they come to office hours and they utilize their time there well, and they take advantage of all of the supports that we have in place, they should have no issue with their grades. The curriculum is rigorous, and all of our curriculum is accredited and supported by either the National Alliance for Direct Support Professionals or Texas A&M AgriLife. Our NADSP curriculum is for our DSPs, our generals, and our paras. And then we use the AgriLife child care curriculum for our child care students. And so at the end of the program, the students aren't just getting a piece of paper going, yay, you went to class and you did what you were supposed to, and you showed up on time and you had a good college experience, yay you. Our certificate is actually backed up with several other accredited certificates. So the students will be getting quite a few certificates while they're here with us, not just the one pass certificate at the end. The one at the end says you completed all of this work and you successfully acquired all of your other certificates to be able to graduate as a DSP or as a CCP. So program format, like I mentioned, we are now a 2-year program. We are very thrilled about that. 1 year just was not long enough for some of our students. And for some, they were ready to go, but for the majority of them, we found that there were times that we really wish we could have had them just a little bit longer. And so with the changes that we've made in the CCP curriculum, we've also made the same changes to the DSP curriculum. All the tracks are required to get 480 hands-on hours while they're here with us, which is a lot of hours. And that really, when they put that on their resume, that's really going to look good. Everything that we do and every change that we have made to this program has been with the thought in mind that they need to be marketable when they go out there and they're competing against other people for these jobs. We want our students to stand out head and shoulders above everybody else. And when somebody looks at their resume and they see that they have all of this experience already coming in and all of these certifications to back them up and the skills, the formal training in these fields, then it really does make them look good to employers. And our goal at the end of this program, as should be any program, any post-secondary training program is for them to become employed, not go home and sit on the couch. We want them employed. That is the whole purpose of this program. And so we try to make it clear to the student and to families, you know, if that's not your goal, then this probably is not the program for you, because this is a rigorous program. It's not so rigorous that the students will not make it through as long as they take advantage of the supports that we have in place and they do the work. But the end goal is employment. We want them working. And most of the time that, you know, that's what the students want too. They're eager to work. They want to go out there. They want to get a job. They want to get their own apartment. You know, they want to live their life just like everybody else, and they're perfectly capable of doing that. But they just need some training, and that's where we come in. So when we change to a 2-year program, this is the format that we have now. Since this is our first trial run with the 2-year program, pretty much the first year, it kind of stayed the same, but it kind of didn't. Our summer 1 program, which used to be called Bridge to Career, the students were taking 9 classes and learning the bus system and, you know, in community day. That was a lot. There's no other Aggie on this campus who takes 9 classes in a 4-week period. So we found that we were only able to really just scratch the surface of these classes and teach them the basic skills that they need to be successful once they got into PAS. So what we did is we restructured the program to where we took away some of the classes that weren't absolutely necessary for them to learn in the summer. And we put them in other semesters to where they could the skills could kind of build on each other. And so the summer is still very busy. But I think we lopped off about 3 of the classes. And so there's still a lot of classes, but we have more time to be able to focus on the skills that we really want to focus on to adequately prepare them for the fall. And so they get classes like person-centered planning. Study skills is huge. We need to start them out learning how to study. Many of our students have never had homework when they get to us. And that's a problem because now they do. And I can't tell you how many times I've had a student tell me, I've never had homework before. You know, I don't know what to do with this. And so we teach them what to do with it. Yeah, do it. And you're going to have to manage your time well to where you can handle homework and everything else that comes along with college life. And so study skills is very important feature for our students. Healthy relationships. This is basically an adult sex ed class. And so our students come to us and many times they've been left out of these conversations at the K through 12 level. Somehow or another, people think that just because you have a disability, you will never have sex, and that's absolutely not true. And we found out that that's not true. So what we did was partner with Health and Kinesiology and they developed a wonderful curriculum to go over all of this good stuff with our students so that they will be well informed and educated and can make good, sound decisions regarding their relationships. We put them through a budgeting class. A lot of our students have never had to manage their own money before. When they get out in the real world, they're going to have to. And so now's a good time to start learning. Technology, we don't accept IQ scores. We don't care about reading scores or writing scores or any of that. We don't even really ask for that. We take the student, if we see that after our application process, that the student is a good fit for the program based on their educational and employment goals, and the program is a good fit for the student, students good fit for the program, program's good fit for the student, then we take them as they come to us, and we teach them assistive technology to learn how to overcome those learning hurdles. And so we're not going to fuss with trying to teach them how to read and write. They've had plenty of time already to learn those skills. So if they don't have it by now, we're going to teach them assistive technology to help them the rest of the way along. So technology class is very important for our students, especially if they do struggle with reading and with writing. Community day is where we teach them the bus systems. And so we build in a lot of training navigation training in the summer. We're very heavy on navigation training in the summer on the bus systems and learning how to navigate campus, because they're going to have this down by the fall. And so in the fall, and before each long semester, the fall and spring semesters are 16 weeks long. We bring them back a week before the rest of the Aggies hit campus for what we call prep week. And in prep week, we give them their schedules, and their advisors walk them around campus, and they learn how to find their landmarks again. They learn how to find their classrooms. Their classrooms could be anywhere on this campus. It could be on main campus. It could be on West Campus. They're just like any other college student. We don't have a dedicated building called paths where our students stay and study. They could be anywhere. And so they've got to learn their way around, and they've got to learn good time management skills to get there. And so our advisors work heavily with them in the summertime on these things. Residential living, that's the living in the dorm. We have a male and female RA who stay in the dorms with them in the summer. And they are not there for supervision. We do not provide supervision. Our students are adults, and we treat them as adults. So I've had many questions saying, can you guarantee the safety of my son? No, ma'am, we can't. And quite frankly, neither can you in today's times. But, you know, we pretty much are there for support. We support them heavily in the summer. We'll escort them to where they need to go until they get the hang of it. And usually by about week 2 or 3, they've got the hang of it, and they take off without the staff, because they pretty much know where they're going by that point. But there are some who still struggle, and they have navigation skills about like mine, and we need some extra help. So our staff is still there to continue to help them. So in the summer, they learn a lot about learning to get along, learning good time management, learning how to navigate the bus system, learning how to find the different buildings on campus. And then prep week before the semesters, they get reacquainted with all of those things after their break, because they're going to lose some knowledge between the time the summer ends and the fall begins. And so we're going to bring them back a week early before the crowd hits to help them get acclimated again to campus and get them back into the groove of things. We have a self-determination class. We work on those self-determination skills I spoke about earlier. We partner with the Brazos Valley Center for Independent Living, and they have been amazing with creating classes specifically for our students to work on those independent living skills. And so our students are required to take, they'll have BB-SEAL classes on their schedule, and they will also be required to take at least 2 BB-SEAL classes around the PAS classes that they have on their schedule each month to work on those independent living skills. So if they indicated, we have a wraparound meeting, entrance wraparound meeting when the student's accepted, and we talk about what they struggle with, what they're good at, what they need extra support in. We also have the students set some short-term and long-term goals that they want to work on in addition to learning about their track. And some of them will usually come to us and say, I really need extra help with, cooking, or I need extra help with my assistive technology or computers, or I want to take an exercise class or a sign language class to help me, whenever I become a para. And that's where BB-SEAL comes in to help those students with those particular skills. So we encourage the students to take the classes at BB-SEAL that apply to the short-term and long-term goals that they set for themselves in their wraparound meeting. And then we have tutoring in the summer. And for the fall and spring, it turns into office hours, which is the same thing. So for the fall, we have person-centered planning. We have Ms. Amy Day, who's our person-centered planning instructor, and she teaches the students all about proper language and learning about themselves. And this in turn helps them to take into consideration other people's needs as well. So our staff have, me and myself have personally been through this training, and it is amazing training. And so we put our students through it as well. And that's another certificate that they get while they're here with us. We continue study skills in the fall because the fall looks very different from the summer. And so we want to make sure that they're learning these study skills so that they can generalize those skills across semesters and across classes. We have booster sessions of healthy relationships because we don't want them forgetting any of their lessons they learned in that class back in the summer. Intro to content kind of scratches the surface of what they will be learning in the spring when they start their actual content classes with the modules through the NADSP. And so this class kind of covers a lot of the things that might fall through the cracks that we didn't really typically have time for when we were just a one-year program, but now we can tackle those things. So this class has really been beefed up a lot to help the students kind of ease into content, because content class is not easy. If a student struggles with anything, it's going to be with the content class. And so we built in this intro to content to help them through that. Communication through movement is, I stopped short of calling it a dance class. It's not exactly a dance class, but it is a class where students are integrated with other Aggies. And it's a movement class. It has a lot of psychology behind it and teaches students lessons about personal space. And it's very effective. And we've had this class for several years now, and we really, really love it. Library instruction and media literacy. This is a class where the students take to work on like cybersecurity and various different skills, how to locate resources in the library, how to utilize resources. Tiana Okonkwo is here with us today, and we're thrilled to have her, and she works very closely with our instructors and with our students to find out how we can incorporate library instruction and media into the classes, and how she can help support the teachers and the students with identifying the resources that are needed for their classes. So Tiana, if you're here, if I missed anything, please feel free to add anything that you want to.
I don't know if it's, well, I can give some examples if that would help. Okay. So say, for instance, in other classes, they're talking about how you construct an email. So one thing we can do as far as cybersecurity and media literacy is to talk about cybersecurity issues with getting emails. What do you do if you get this email that has a link on it and it's telling you to click here or do that? It's from someone you don't know. So we talk about the other things that support what's going on in their classes. For some of the CCP classes, and I think for the DSP class as well, the students have had to find books that they would use in their classrooms. And so one of the things that we can do with the library class is we can talk about age-appropriate books, because we have resources in the library that can help people select age-appropriate books, right? So I do try to support and supplement what's going on in their classroom, as well as address needs that come up for students. One of the reasons that we started focusing more on the media literacy is because there was actually a situation which came up during a classroom, during class, right? And it had to do with social media and how does the person react in that case. And I was like, oh, I think we need to address this in a larger way. So I'm there to just support the students in their classes or other media literacy, cybersecurity issues that come up.
Thank you so much. We are very blessed to be able to partner with our library folks, and they have been just instrumental in helping our students with learning about the resources that are available to them. They get so much out of that class, and we're very thankful for all the work that they do with our program. So the students, as I mentioned, for the fall semester, starting the fall semester, they'll need to find an off-campus dorm in which to live. And this is really good for them to not be able to stay on campus. We're allowed to house them on campus for the summer, but then they have to find that off-campus dorm, and then they stay in that off-campus dorm for the rest of the program. Even for summer 2, they do not come back to stay on campus because they've already learned those skills. They don't need them anymore. They've already learned how to live off campus, and that's where they need to stay. So they'll stay off campus for the duration of the program. The next cohort that comes in, we accept cohorts every year. They'll live on campus just like this group. This group will move into their second year, and then we'll bring in another group of students to start their first year. They'll live on campus, but that second year group will remain off campus. Independent study, we talked about that class. That is the class where it's a dedicated time for them to work on classwork with the instructional aides present. They'll still have BVSIL. As you notice, BVSIL is on every single semester. They are required to take those classes every single semester. And then we have professionalism. And professionalism, they learn a variety of skills that they need to be successful in the workplace, from how to properly dress, communication skills, and just a variety of things. They'll put together an employment binder, and that's where they will have everything that they need once they begin to look for a job. They'll have all of their certifications. They'll have their resume already created with their hours on it, an updated resume. They'll have a sample cover letter, which we will help them tailor once they get ready to apply for jobs at the end of the program. And so they'll have everything in that employment binder that they need to not only look for a job, but they'll also have the documents in there that they need once they get a job. So that employment binder is critical to their success, not only through the program, but also once they leave us. And if they keep it up to date, it'll be a very useful tool for them throughout their lifetime. So there's something that's very valuable for them to start working on, and we start that in the fall. So in the spring, they'll start their field-based experience. That class is coupled along with their practicum. They'll do 60 hours of practicum in the spring. And in that 60 hours, it will be here locally, and where we can keep a good eye on them. We have several, I'd say several, that's not doing it justice. We have many partners, our practicum coordinators here with us, and she has done a phenomenal job of forging those partnerships with various places around town who have agreed to take our students in and train them. They understand the competencies that our students are required to master in each of their fields, and they help work with them to make sure that they do master those competencies, and they provide observation material for us, observations on our students, how they're doing during their time there with us. And we get a lot of great feedback from our partners. So we have had some partners that have loved our students so much that they hired them. So they walked away with a job, or they offered them a paid internship instead of just volunteering. And so that's the best case scenario. That's what we hope for. But sometimes it's not possible depending on the track. But they will have 60 hours that will all be completed on Fridays. It averages out to about 5 hours a Friday. So Monday through Thursday, they're in class, and Friday, they're in their practicum site. So for content, that's where they start working on their competencies. That's where they really get into the nitty-gritty of what they need to learn about their track. They still residential living, they're living here off campus throughout the duration of this entire program. We prefer that students live here as opposed to living at home, because we see a lot more growth in our students when they are living here with us, as opposed to if they're staying at home with their family, because they're so used to their family doing things for them and being there anytime they need them. Whereas if they live here, they're not living with their family, they learn to rely on other people and other natural resources, in their environment. So we really prefer that the student, if they are here local and if it's supported and you can afford it, go to an off-campus dorm and learn how to really fine tune those independent living skills, because it's a little more difficult to do at home. They'll have independent study all throughout their time here, BBSO class all throughout their time here. 2 classes of professionalism. Professionalism will wrap up in the spring of their first year. And so the first year is heavy on curriculum and light on practicum. We kind of ease them into that. Our students, we encourage them to get involved on campus in the organizations that are offered here. And there's over 1,200 of them. So there's an organization for just about anything that you decide you want to do. And so we encourage our students, we require them to go to the MSC open house when they have it, to learn about all of the organizations that are here. We want them to build that Aggie network and to forge those relationships with folks outside of PAS. We don't want their whole world to be just their PAS cohort and us. We want them to make other friendships and branch out there and, get to mingle with other people. And believe that, it's very valuable for them to be able to be a part of these organizations. And we've got some amazing ones. We really do have some amazing ones that have reached out to us. Some of them have reached out to us, saying, hey, we're really interested in, partnering with you, and seeing if any of your students would be interested in joining our organizations. So there's quite a few of them, anything that they have an interest in. And so it's going to be tough for the student to juggle classwork, being a part of organizations, practicum, and study time, and trying to figure out, what to do with what little bit of free time they have left. And so it's really good time management for them. And sometimes they get involved in too much stuff, and then we notice, the grades start to slide. I get a copy of the grade report every Monday, so I keep a very close eye on the grades for our students. And if somebody's slipping, office hours no longer are optional. They are at that point mandatory. They have to go to office hours. And so what we like to see is for the student to see for themselves that they're struggling, and I'll just automatically go to office hours because they know they need it. But sometimes they need a little push. So, but we've got lots of things in place, lots of support in place for the students to be successful if they are struggling. But they learn what is, they get the full college experience. It's a little hard not to when you're on the campus of Texas A&M University. But they, just like any other college student, they learn really fast how to manage their time to where they get their work done and they still get to be a college student and attend their activities and their organizations and still have a little fun. So for the second year, the first year was heavy on academics, light on practicum. The second year is heavy on practicum and light on academics. So in the summer 2 semester, we have a lot of booster sessions. We have more targeted practice on certain skills that they learned in year 1. And we are going to be working with them on how they can generalize those skills in different areas. And for instance, in person-centered training, they learn a lot of different they have a lot of different tools that they learn, and we want them to learn how we're going to take like a tool a week and really work with them on that tool and how they can use that not only in college, but also in their practicum and also in their personal life, because those tools are very versatile and we want them to use those. I still sometimes forget about them, and then Ms. Day will say, hey, these tools would be really great for this meeting. And I'm like, yeah, they would. Why didn't I think of that? And I use them, and they are very valuable and very helpful to me. And so I know they are going to be to the students as well. So we're going to have, more targeted practice on some of these things from year 1. But then they go into the fall semester of their second year. And that's where they're really going to be mostly in their practicum. So The students will be in practicum Monday through Thursday, and they're only going to have class on Friday. So they're going to be very busy. They're going to be working a lot of hours, but it's going to be good for them. We can teach them a lot of things in the classroom, but the real learning happens when they have to apply it out in the real world. So mostly it's practicum. They do still have content class, and of course, residential living, independent study, and BVCL classes that they have to keep up with. They still have to keep up with all of this. This is to help them to build their stamina, to help them, it mimics the real world. You know, we all have to get up early and get to work by 8 and work till 5, and then we can get off work, and then we have the rest of our things we have to do once we get home. And so the students will have the same thing. They're going to have a full day, and but that's what they're going to have when they get out there and they start working in the real world. So the spring semester, pretty much the same thing. And they're going to wrap up their practicum in the spring semester with their final 210 hours. And then that we incorporate our next steps class here, which is that employment readiness class, where we really tackle getting your resume completely updated and ready to go for the job search. We help them with applying to at least 3 places of employment wherever it is they choose to live. It could be, you know, some of them choose to live here. They want to stay here because they're already familiar with the bus system. Maybe they've had a job offer from their practicum site that, you know, their practicum supervisor liked them so well that they wanted them to stay. And so maybe they've already got a job lined up. And so it could be here, it could be back home. And I've had some tell me, you know, I don't want to stay here and I don't want to go back home. I'm like, okay, well, what do you want to do? Well, I want to move to San Antonio. Okay, well, let's make a plan. What kind of support system do you have in San Antonio? Have you thought about, you know, places of employment that you would like to work? And do you know anything about, you know, the apartment situation there, the housing situation there? So we help them do the research, and sometimes they're still set, you know, on doing that. And we have had some do that and be successful. And then we have had some that have stayed here. And this is where we work very closely with the families, because they're still going to need some family support. You know, at the tail end, a lot of our students do go back home. They do get a job back home, and they work until they can save up enough money, and then the families help them, you know, with getting settled in an apartment. And then we've had some, we had one who actually just moved back here. She was a paraprofessional back home. She lived with her mom till she could save up money. And then she wanted to move back here and work and live. And so that's what she's done. And we have, I love to hear success stories like that when our students branch out and you know, become independent. And they're not going to become independent overnight. They're still going to need a little bit of support until they can get to that point. And some need more support than others. So that's pretty much our program for the full 2 years. It's a lot, but every class here is the meat of what they need to know to be successful in their particular chosen field of study. But we don't have any fluff in this schedule at all. It's all skills, you know, classes designed to teach them independent living skills, to teach them study skills, to teach them, you know, employment skills, to get them ready for work. So I get asked a lot of questions about our employment rates. You know, how many of our students become employed after they leave us? And so I've compiled over the years some of the statistics. Going back to 2017-18, our graduation rate was around 78%. Not everybody who applies gets in, and not everybody who gets in stays. And that's okay. Sometimes we have students who just aren't ready. Sometimes we have students who change their mind. But we do encourage the students to finish what they start, especially if you're supported by the Texas Workforce Commission, which the majority of our students are. If you don't already have a good working relationship with a TWC counselor, I would highly recommend it because they are the largest funder of our students, and they are an amazing partner. And our program was developed in partnership with TWC. And so I would highly recommend getting with them. But our graduation rates have increased as we have added extra supports, revised our program over the years, and been more selective in the application and interview process. And so making sure that it's the student's idea and they are excited about this and they know exactly what they're getting themselves into has really helped. The program is fun, but it is a lot of work, and we do not push our students through. This is not a program where, you know, nobody fails. Sometimes people do fail, but we have had some students who have not made it the first time. They've decided, you know, either they needed to grow up a little bit. Sometimes it's a maturity issue. And, you know, a year or two later, they come back and they're quite successful. So just because a student doesn't make it doesn't mean that the program is not appropriate for them. It just means that they weren't ready at that time. So our graduation rates have steadily increased over the years. Currently, we have our 2021-23 cohort in progress, so I can't give you stats on that. But our last cohort, everybody who applied and was accepted graduated. So we're very proud of that. Our employment rate the last time we did a survey showed that our PAS graduates were employed at a rate of 70%, which is pretty good to have 70% of our students employed. And our support for employment never ends. So just because a student graduates, we don't just say goodbye, good luck, you know, see ya. We are still here for them. We have graduates from, you know, several years back that come to us sometimes and say, hey, you know, is there somebody that could help me revise my resume or help me with an application because I'm changing jobs? And we will put them with somebody to help them because we want them employed. And so our support never ends. The students, even long after you graduate, you can still come to us and we will help you. Several of our students left the program with jobs upon graduation. Some of them already had jobs lined up by the time they graduated, and all of them submitted applications for jobs prior to graduation. So we, like I mentioned, we have them apply to at least 3 places of employment wherever they choose to live. We help them with identifying places close by employers where they could live, apartment complexes or housing. And we help them with identifying who their support system is going to be after graduation. And sometimes it's still us, and that's okay. We're always here to support our students because we want them to be successful. We are in the process of completing another survey. And so once that survey is complete, then this number will change and I'll update this, but our latest one, 70%. So application requirements get a lot of questions about, you know, do you accept IQ scores? You know, what's your minimum reading score? We don't care about any of that. We take the student, as I mentioned, as they come to us, and we work with them on assistive technology to help them overcome those learning hurdles. And the only 4 requirements that we have is that the student must be at least 18 by the time the program starts. They don't have to be 18 to apply, but if the program starts June 17th, then the student needs to they need to have a birthday by June 17th so that they can turn 18. Otherwise, the university considers them underage and we have to provide 24/7 supervision. We don't do that. So they need to be at least 18 by the time the program starts. They must be their own guardian. The whole purpose of this program is so that we can help train the students to become independent. A student cannot be fully independent if they are not their own guardian, if they have someone else there making decisions for them. Now, a lot of families have changed from full guardianship to supported, what's it called? Okay, somebody help me out. Supported decision making. So that is fine, but the student really needs to be their own guardian, because we are going to have them complete applications. They're going to have to complete criminal background checks for their practicum. They need to be able to do that independently without somebody else's signature saying that it's okay. Because in the real world, when they get out there, they're going to have to do it. So they need to be able to do those things. So they need to be their own guardian. They must have graduated from high school or have a GED, and they must be able to pass a criminal background check. All of our tracks are in human services. All of our partners require criminal background checks. When they go to work in this field, they're going to have to do a criminal background check. So they must be able to pass a criminal background check. Otherwise, there's no sense in coming to this program and spending 2 years and a whole lot of money on a career that they're not going to be able to work in. So must be able to do that. And those are the only 4 requirements we have. Application information, you can apply online at paz.tamu.edu. The student needs to choose their track. We highly recommend that students get some volunteer hours in these particular fields so that they'll know what they're getting into. We found that students are way more successful. Let's say we have a student who wants to go into childcare, but they've never worked in childcare in their life, but oh, they just love babies and they just have their heart set on working with babies. Well, they get here and we put them busy working with babies, and all of a sudden it's like, whoo, I didn't know what I was getting myself into with this. I didn't know it was going to be so loud. I don't like, a whole lot of loud noise. And, and I didn't know it was going to have to change diapers. That's not really my cup of tea. And so then all of a sudden they're not happy. And so the time to figure out what you're going to be happy with and what you're not going to be happy with is before you apply, before you get here. So if the student has an opportunity to get some volunteer experience or to shadow some folks in these areas, I would highly recommend that for that student so that they can make a better decision regarding which track they are actually truly interested in. Because once they're in here in the program, beyond the summer, they're not going to be able to change. And we want them to be happy with the field that they're going into. So getting that volunteer experience ahead of time is very, very helpful and valuable. And it helps increase their odds of acceptance as well. If we see that a student has volunteered in a particular area that they're applying for, then we know that they have spent time in that environment, and we know that they must really love it, and that's what they really want to do because they're going to apply and they've got their heart set on working in that area, and they're going to more than likely be successful. We know that that's what they really want to do if they're willing to spend 2 years studying to do it. Our application period is open from right now until February 28th, 2022. So our application is on our website. Once the application closes, then we will interview, we'll call students for interview. And then once the interviews are complete, we make our final decisions, and acceptance letters will be mailed no later than the first or second week in April. And then we bring the student in that following June to start their first summer session. So the application checklist, there's a lot of things, a lot of components to this application. They need not only the completed online application, there's also an application fee that needs to be paid. And I believe our program manager, our CDD program manager, Jessica Dees, is here with us. She is the one responsible for helping to folks to get that fee paid. They need to send their transcripts from their high school. If they haven't graduated yet, they can send a preliminary transcript from their school. It needs to be an official transcript. And then they can send, if they're accepted, they'll need to send an updated transcript showing their graduation date. If they have post-secondary college or any other type of program certificates, those need to be forwarded to us, official transcripts from there also. We have an essay that they have to complete. They can give us this essay in any format they wish. So that essay could be a traditional written essay, but they have certain questions that they have to answer, and those questions are embedded in that application. They must answer each of those questions. They can give us anything else that they want. If that essay is 100 pages long, we will read 100 pages. But they need to have at least the minimum covered with that essay, and that involves answering those minimum questions that we have listed. So they can give us traditional essay. It can be a video. We love videos. It really helps us to see the student's personality. And we have some students who have really got creative with their videos. So we really love videos, and it helps us to put a face with the name. And 2 online references. This cannot be family or friends. So these need to be professional references, either a supervisor or a counselor or a teacher, somebody who knows the student well and can attest to their abilities and their character. Resume, they need to have a resume. Even if they don't have much to put on it, that's okay. We want to see a resume. Their latest IEP, and we are very interested in what they worked on while in high school. This gives us a good idea of the kind of skills that they're going to need assistance with if they're accepted. But any behavior plans, if they're on a behavior intervention plan, we need to see that too. Families think sometimes they'll leave that out, even though it's written in the IEP that the student had a BIP. You know, we've had some students leave that out because they think it hurts their chances of getting accepted. It does not. It needs to be in there. We need as much information about the student as we can get to help make an informed decision about whether or not the program is appropriate for the student at this time. Because I guarantee you, if there's something with regard to behavior that we don't know about up front, that we don't know to keep an eye on during summer 1, if the student's accepted, it's going to come out. And it'll be a big surprise for everybody. So we like to avoid surprises. We want to know what to expect. And it also helps us to put things in place, strategies in place for that particular student so they can be more successful. Their full individual evaluation and any psychological evals. Those are very, very helpful to us. It gives us a lot of good information so that we'll know how to support the student so they can be successful. So if any of the above are missing or incomplete, the student will not be considered for review. So I have the rest of these are frequently asked questions, which I am fixing to tackle right now because I see we have 66 comments in chat. So I want to close my piece and start. Melanie, if you don't mind, if you could start reading those questions, and I'll be happy to answer those questions. We still have about 40 minutes, so I've got plenty of time to make sure I get everybody's questions answered.
Yes, so most of them Philip and I have answered in the comments, but I do have 2 set aside for you to answer. One was, what type of student or disability do we typically accept?
Okay. We accept students with all abilities. We have students who have autism, we have students who have Down syndrome, we have students who have disabilities I've never heard of. There are just a ton of different types of disabilities out there. We don't look at the disability when we are looking to accept a student. What we look for is, does the student want to be here? Is the program appropriate for the student's employment and educational goals? And, you know, does a student have a heart for serving people? Because all of our tracks are in human services. So if humans, you know, are not that student's thing, then this probably isn't the program for them, because not every student loves working with humans. And so you have to have a heart for serving people. And if those criteria are met, and we deem that you're a good fit for the program, we accept you. It doesn't matter what your disability is.
The next question was very similar, and you really kind of answered it, but do you see success with students on the autism spectrum?
We do. We've graduated many students who were on the autism spectrum. Like I said, we have an extensive application and interview process, and it's usually during that process that we determine whether or not the student is going to be happy here and whether or not this is going to be the appropriate program for that student. Because all of our tracks right now are in human services. You know, I've had some students sit across from me and say, I really don't like working with people. I mean, she just flat out told me, I don't like working with people. And I was like, okay, well, what would you like to do? And she's like, well, I like working with animals. Okay, well, we can't help you there because we don't have a track working with animals. But we can help you, you know, if you enjoy working with humans, but if you don't, then this isn't the program for you. And you kind of need to have a conversation with your family about that. And so we applaud students who advocate for themselves and let us know that, but we try to make sure up front that the students, no matter what their disability, whether it's autism or what it is, that they're going to be happy here. And at the end, they're going to be working in a field that they're going to be happy with, and that it's not going to be a struggle for them. So that's why we require so much information up front to help make that decision. And we visit with the family, we visit with the student. After all of that, we can pretty much determine, even if a student is on the autism spectrum, whether or not they're going to be happy and successful.
The next question is there a cap on age?
No, we've had a student who was in her 50s. So I think has been our oldest student. You have to be at least 18. We do have a minimum. You have to be at least 18, but we do not care how old you are. There have been several people who are midlife career changers. They want to do something different, and that's fine. You know, we don't worry about what the age is. It just matters what you want to do, if you want to do this, and if this program is appropriate for you and what you want to do.
The next one is, do you feel that students who are at a 12th grade level academically to succeed, say they have high school diploma, but of course they have struggles?
Yeah, all of our students have struggles. I have struggles, and it's okay. We have the staff in place to know how to support our students properly in their struggles. We have several strategies that we use to help students be successful. And if we get a student who is struggling and the supports that we have in place aren't really working, we come together as a team every week to discuss our students and to discuss their status and how they're doing. Are they improving? What's working for them? What's not working for them? There's a lot of conversation that happens every week behind our students' back. And it's simply because we want to make sure that we're meeting their needs. And sometimes we have to get creative, but that's what we do. That's the business that we're in. And so far, we have not had a student yet that we haven't found something that worked for them.
Next is kind of a two-part question, and you're going to answer the first one within the second question. How large are the content classes? Also, how many are accepted annually?
So each cohort, we cap at 25 students. We're going to be running 2 cohorts simultaneously. So we'll have 2 cohorts running at any one point in time. So that'll be 50 students. We don't want the classes so large that we can't adequately support our students' needs. So the most that we'll have is 50. Now that's 25 each cohort. And so it just depends on the track that the student's in. Not all 25 students will be in the same class, but the maximum will be 25 students with an instructor and 2 to 3 instructional aides.
And then a couple have asked this, and I know you went over it, but more about the success rate, more information on the success rate.
So yeah, like I said, our last survey that was taken a couple years ago, we had 70%. I can't tell you what it is currently up through our last cohort that graduated last year, because we're still in the process of doing a new survey. But we have, I get emails from students all the time. I ask them to stay in touch with me and let me know what they're doing. And I get emails from them a lot of times saying, yeah, Miss Glass, I got a job here, and, I'm working as a paraprofessional over here, and I got a job, at a daycare. And so they're constantly letting me know. And we try to highlight our students in our newsletter. If you haven't signed up for the CDD newsletter, please do so. And there we'll highlight students occasionally, our student success, no matter what it is. Hey, Miss Glass, guess what? I got my driver's license. That's something to celebrate, and we're going to highlight you. So we're always highlighting our students in our newsletter when they come to us with their accomplishments. So, but right now, the number that I can give you is 70%. We hope to have a new number in the near future.
Next is, do you have a list of recommendations of off-campus housing?
Students can choose wherever they want to live. We don't recommend one place over the other. It's totally up to the student. Now, if you're working with a TWC counselor, I will tell you they do have a list of vendors that they have that most of them have sent students here to us before, and the students can choose from that list, and probably would have to choose from that list if TWC is going to pay for it. So I would highly recommend getting with your TWC counselor and finding out who their vendor list is in town, then just going around, taking a weekend or maybe even a few days in the summer and coming, to visit and just come look at some of those places. Our students, like I said, stay in Hullabaloo Hall that first semester. That's included in the program fees. And so we put them up at Hullabaloo Hall. You can, if you've got some time, come take a look at it. They'll give you tours. And so you can work with some apartment locators here in town. You can work with TWC. Definitely come look at Hullabaloo Hall on campus. It's always a neat experience to get to come to our campus anyway. So those would be my suggestions with regard to housing, but we can't recommend one over the other. It's just totally up to the student which one they want to choose based on their visits and which one has the most amenities that they're interested in.
Next question is, what are the costs per semester on campus courses, books, cost normally for the off-campus dorms?
Okay, so all of our let me see if I can go back here. Let me exit full screen. And I'll move this, and I do have that in one of my questions here. Okay, so the cost for our program, the summer one is $15,050. Fall is $64.19. Spring is a little over $6,000. Summer 2 is $11,500, and fall and spring are at $61.85. So that is the current cost of our program. That was after we built the budget for the 2-year, and because it's a 2-year, we've really revamped the child care piece. We've added a lot of practicum hours, which means we had to add a lot of staff. And so for anybody who is familiar with our program as a 1-year program, you'll notice that you'll probably have sticker shock because it's gone up quite a bit. But TWC does fund, you'll have to meet with them because I think they have their requirements for income and things like that they look at, but the majority of our students are funded at 100% with TWC. So that means they'll pay all of these fees, plus they pay for housing. And in some cases, if you make over so much, then it may be a case where they pay part of it, you pay part of it. If that's the case, or if you have to end up paying for the full program, then we have payment plans that Jessica Dees, our program manager, will help you set up to be able to fund that. So I would that's why I strongly recommend anybody who doesn't have a TWC counselor to get a TWC counselor. So I covered the cost. What was the other part of that question?
Sorry about that. The normal cost of off-campus dorms.
Oh, okay. That I can't tell you. At one point in time, I remember one of our students, and this was a few years ago, and I'm sure the cost has gone up since then. It was roughly around $1,000 a month for the off-campus dorm. So the off-campus dorm can run you as much as, if not more than the program fees. So, but I would highly recommend that when you go look for off-campus dorms, that you ask two questions. Number one, are meals included? Because that's been some feedback that we received from our students, is that they would much rather have a dorm where meals are included so that they don't have to get a separate meal plan, because getting a separate meal plan is quite cumbersome and just very inconvenient for them. And so our students like it so much better when they have an off-campus dorm that that provides meals. And plus, some of these off-campus dorms, if you let them know the night before that you're going to need a lunch for the next day because you're going to be on campus all day, they'll pack you a sack lunch and that you can grab on your way out the door. And so that they make it very convenient. But be sure to ask, are meals included when you go look at off-campus dorm? The second question is to ask, where does the bus pick up? Because some of the off-campus dorms, it picks up right outside the dorm. Some of them, you have to walk a distance to the bus stop. And so some of our students really like the convenience of having the bus pick up right outside the dorm because then you don't have to walk, especially if it's rainy, it's cold, nasty weather. You don't have to walk somewhere where you've got to catch the bus. And some of them like just being able to run straight out to the bus. So be sure and ask those two questions. Are meals included? And where does the bus pick up?
Another question that we kind of answered in the chat, but I would like you to kind of touch on. A lot have asked, how much support will students get outside of the classroom?
Oh, outside of the classroom, as much as they want. If they have office hours available to them to go to, and office hours usually a couple hours long, so they can go to office hours. We have those 3 to 4 times a week, depending on the semester. They also have, if 8 hours a week of office hours isn't enough, they have their independent study time. Certain semesters we have independent study. We try to build that into just about every semester. So the students will have that dedicated time to work on their classwork with the instructional aides present. So that's at least, that's up to about 12 hours a week. And then if that's not enough, then they can always email the instructional aides and ask for one-on-one tutoring sessions where it's just the student and the instructional aide working on whatever it is that they're struggling with if they need help.
One question that I think you've kind of touched on, but I would kind of like to just have you reiterate it one more time is if they pass the summer and they are they allowed to live at home in the fall, or do they have to live in or off campus dorms?
We do house them and feed them in the summer. That's part of the program fees. For the fall, they do have to live off campus and find their own meals. And that's where finding an off-campus dorm with meals included really helps. If they are local, TWC typically will not pay for an off-campus dorm for a local student because they feel like they can live at home and come to school. We're still in the process of trying to work with them to get them to pay for off-campus dorms for local students because we do see so much more growth in our students who do not live at home as opposed to our students who do. So, so far we have not been successful with that, but in certain cases they will. It depends on your counselor and your circumstances. In some cases they will, so it's worth a shot to ask. but local folks typically live at home. Unless you can afford the dorm, then I would highly recommend going ahead and getting a dorm so that you can start working on those independent living skills. But typically that's the way it works. I think you have to live more than 30 miles from campus or something like that for TWC to pick up the cost of housing. They can give you the specifics on all of that. But I would highly recommend getting with them and seeing about an off-campus dorm, even if you do live locally. All right, well, I think we got everybody's comments, and thank y'all so much. We'll have a recording of this open house, and we will definitely send out those brochures to everybody who's requested one. And like I said, please send me your questions, because I'm sure you'll think of some after we're finished here, and that's okay. Send it to me. We'll be happy to get back with you. So everybody have a wonderful day. Thank y'all so much. Bye-bye.